Hello, beauties. Welcome back to Midlife by Human Design. Apologies for the late drop this week. I don't know about you, but life has just been moving at sort of the speed of light recently. And yeah, the days just got away from me. With that in mind, wherever you happen to be in this moment, I want to just invite you to take a breath with me and center yourself and come into the present moment, whether you're out walking your dogs or driving somewhere or cleaning the house or doing the dishes or whatever you happen to be doing. Let's just take a moment and take a breath together so that we can be here now with each other. Sometimes I have to really remind myself that stillness is my sun gate because I am just on the move so often and there's so much going on. And I love summer. Everything is alive and exciting. And plus, also, it's a time for rejuvenation and taking those breaks, taking those breaths is so important. So now that we are all here together and a little bit more centered, I want to talk today about the nodal shift that has just occurred at the end of July with the North Node moving into Aquarius and the South Node moving into Leo. So we've been in this energy of Virgo Pisces for a bit, and actually the tail end of that is finishing up this month with the second lunar eclipse. The second of the eclipses in August will be in Pisces, and that's like finishing up that cycle. But the first eclipse is going to be a solar eclipse in Aquarius. And I want to just talk a little bit about this South Node, North Node energy and Aquarius and Leo as this axis, because I think that this nodal shift is going to take us into the very beginning of the new paradigm, which according to human design starts in February of 2027, which is next year, just a few short months away. And we're already seeing big shifts and changes around how life is unfolding, what things are normalized. People are getting very fed up with capitalism and consumerism, and what's going to be happening and has already begun is a focus on letting your freak flag fly and taking the self-confidence that Leo provides us and showing up as our weird, outside the box humans, individuals, unique, gorgeous, one of a kind people that we are. So I feel like there's a big part of me, and I'm an Aquarius rising, but there's a big part of me that was put on this planet to help people embrace their weird. And this comes from a very young age. I definitely had plenty of kind of a Leo energy. I have a Leo Mercury. So lots of desire to be on stage, to be out in front of people, to be creative. And then I just kind of come across as strange or weird in a lot of ways to people. And I think back to my first date, which I guess you could call it a date. It was my first date, in middle school. And I remember I was meeting a boy, shout out to Stacy. I was meeting a boy at the movies. And of course, I had to have my dad, I was with my dad that weekend, and I had to have my dad drive me. And I was, let's see, he was staying at that time with my cousins. And so I had to get ready there. And I'm going to paint a picture for you of my outfit. So this was in the 80s. So I had on a white, like, sweatshirt, and it was sleeveless sweatshirt, and it had this hot pink netting that was sewn onto it from like my left shoulder to the right hip. It kind of draped across diagonally. So hot pink over white on top. And then I had these teal, which is like my favorite color, that blue green, such a gorgeous color of like the sea. Anyway, I had that color pants, but they were parachute pants because those were all the rage then. And they were kind of a capri. They were probably meant to be a capri, but because I was so petite, they were more of like a calf length. And they had these giant pockets. Oh my God, if I had those pants now, oh, I would live in them. I loved those things. So I had on my teal parachute pants, and then I had on my feet, I had hot pink knee highs with an overlayer of electric blue fishnet knee highs. So the pants covered, the top of the knee high because, like I said, they were long on me. So you could just see the pink and the electric blue. And then I wore my blue sparkly jelly shoes. So this is me, and I'm like all psyched up, like feeling good about how I look. I'm like colorful, I'm bright. I'm like, yes. Oh my God, I'm so hot. And of course, I had giant ass glasses because I needed glasses, and those were the only kinds they made back then. And I took my mom's advice, which, Mom, if you're listening to this, good Lord, I can't believe you thought those things ever looked nice on me. But anyway, they were huge glasses, and I think I had gotten braces too. So hot ticket, let me just tell you. And so I show up to the movie theater, and I see Stacy waiting for me. He's like leaning against the door, all cool. And he's got on like these jeans, baggy jeans, and some ratty ass old t-shirt and a zip up hoodie. And I was like, really? I just remember thinking to myself in my head, like, wow, interesting. Isn't this interesting? How much time I put into constructing this badass outfit. And this guy shows up like, he was just, whatever, getting work done around the house or something. He's in 6th grade. So anyway, I definitely got a look from my dad when I came out of the bathroom. He was like, kind of giggled a little bit and was like, okay, Laura, all right, that's what you're wearing. And I was like, yeah, what's wrong with it? Like, this is the point, and these are the memories that may come up in your life where you can distinctly trace back where it was that you were too much, or where it was that you were letting your freak flag fly and it didn't quite fit with somebody else's idea about who you were. And I invite you to use this little story to inspire your own thinking about when you were young and what seemed weird to other people about you. Because that is where I want you to explore and potentially come back to and reveal again for yourself in midlife what part of that younger version of you is still there and still wants to be known, wants to be seen, wants to be addressed and loved, and allowed to, given permission to express herself. So I think about Aquarius as that freak flag, that weird, that, it's Aquarius is innovative. It's definitely technology. We're going to see all kinds of technology leaps and bounds over the next couple of years. And we also have the South Node in Leo. So the South Node is sort of where we've been. It's what we have come into this lifetime, especially if you're looking at your South and North, your personal South and North nodes. It's what you come into this lifetime having mastered. Like you lived a couple of lifetimes already doing the thing or being the thing. And now you're moving more toward the North Node. So when the nodes switch their axis and that energy is shining in on the collective, it's more like inviting us as a collective to consider these themes. And so with Leo being in the South Node, Leo is all about self-confidence. It's about being in the spotlight. It's about being self-centered and like main character energy. And it's really beautiful energy. And I think that this Leo South Node is making me reflect on the idea of confidence. And what exactly is confidence? So, by definition, it is a feeling of trust, a state of certainty, and a belief in oneself. And what I want to ask you is when you feel self-confident or when you have felt self-confident in the past, has that been predicated on other people's approval? Like, I feel confident because I look a certain way and people around me approve of that. Or I did something and people approved of it, other than myself. And listen, I absolutely can think of many different times when I have felt confident because of that reason. And this is why I'm bringing this episode to you today, because I want us to consider how we can start to feel confidence that's not built on other people's approval, because that is incredibly fragile, right? Because the moment somebody doesn't like you, then your self-confidence crumbles. And let me just say, there are going to be people that don't like you. There are going to be people that don't agree with you. And so, what if real confidence is actually about knowing that somebody's not going to like you and being that way anyway? You're going to show up in that main character energy, in your proverbial teal parachute capri pants and your hot pink and neon blue legging or knee highs in your sparkly blue jelly shoes, and you're gonna own it. And it's gonna be main character energy because it feels like a reflection of you. You chose those clothes. You looked in your closet and you were like, what is going to make me feel amazing today? And you chose those things instead of maybe choosing what society tells you, which is, a closet full of neutrals where there's very little personality, but you feel like, oh, calm. And listen, I'm not knocking you if that lights you up. And therein lies the rub. Therein lies the lesson. Is like if neutrals light you up, of course, I'm using clothes as an example here. If they make you feel good in your body and you feel self-confident, then by all means, like go for it. So where does human design come into all of this? Of course, our human design shows us our unique selves. It is the science of differentiation, right? It is showing us what is the special sauce behind our individuality. Every single type is different. Every authority is different. Every incarnation cross is different. Every profile is different. And it's all a mix of these various elements into this one beautiful human being. And that chart is a map to show us our own beautiful way of self-expression, of how do we let our freak flag fly. And every chart is weird in its own way, and it has its own contrasts that don't make logical sense. Like, oh, I've got, for example, in mine, my sun gate is in gate 52, which is the gate of stillness. And my south node is in gate 52, which is the gate of stillness. So it's like, if I think about a south node as energy I have mastered that I came in here with, and my sun gate is like what I'm here to share, what I am, the essence of who I am, it's like, I guess there was something in my soul's work that just felt like, I got to come around and do this again. I've got to like do another round of gate 52 because this is what the world needs right now. But some people would say that that is a bit of a contrast because your south node is kind of the energy that not so much that you're moving away from, but moving away from in the sense that you're on a trajectory toward your north node, and you're more coming into that energy of your north node when, especially in midlife and beyond. So we need that south node energy though in order to propel us. And more importantly, we need to show up in the high expression of that energy in order to propel us into that north node energy. So the same thing goes with the Leo Aquarius axis. It's like we have to be in the high expression of Leo in order to move into helping humanity in Aquarius. So this is also where, parsing this out and finding these little details in your chart and helping to explain this is what human design has to say to that, and how does that relate to your life. Sometimes it's really helpful to have somebody reflect that for you. And as you know, that is what I do. So if you're listening to this and feeling charged up and feeling like, fuck, I want to let my freak flag fly, but I don't even know where to start because I feel buried under so many freaking layers of conditioning, that is what I do. So book a session with me and let's do it. Let's peel back those layers. Let's get to that gorgeous golden nugget inside and figure out a way that we can lift it so that you feel that self-confidence in being that weird ass human that you are. Because we're all weird, okay? We're all weird in our own freaky ways, okay? And the thing is that conditioning that is layered on, that just keeps us small, right? It feels risky because it's the whole idea of oh my God, if I'm separate from the pack, then somebody's going to attack me because I'll be by myself and I'm vulnerable. But that is not the way life is anymore. We don't have to live with that caveman mentality. But every time that you put yourself out there, let's say you're sharing something on social media and somebody disagrees with you, it's like the proverbial bear coming in and being like, I'm going to eat you up. Just like you feel vulnerable, you feel, and maybe your nervous system wants to shrink back. But I am encouraging you to show up even though there will be people that disagree with you, that don't want to, that just feel like you're full of shit in some way, shape, or form. And I want you to understand that yet this is a yes and game. Self-confidence comes from showing up even when other people disagree with you, even when they think you're fucking weird, even when they try to put you down or try to keep you small because you are coming out and being your weird ass self. And in fact, you've got to be your weird ass self in order for our world to evolve. It is imperative. And I think about midlife women and the phase that we are in, coming into this wild woman archetype where, I mean, our bodies are doing the work for us, right? They're like, our hormones are shifting, our kids are growing up, we have career changes. Even if we don't pivot from our career, there's got to be some kind of change in it, having been in the career for such a long time. Our parents are aging, our bodies are like demanding our attention. And all of that stuff is like a way for us to just shed all of the expectations and all of the bullshit. And I feel like it's peeling back these layers to that gorgeous inner weirdo who's there, who gets to rise to the surface. And because of that, that is what shifts our humanity. That is what ultimately helps us grow as a human population, as this one kind of consciousness hive mind of which we were all a part. And when we are suppressing that individuality in order to fit in, we are suppressing humanity, literally. Remember that we are all one. Each one of us is like this tiny little puzzle piece in the collective cosmos. And when that puzzle piece is covered up, is shrouded, is told to be smaller in order to fit in, it actually doesn't fit into the puzzle, right? It doesn't click in the way it's meant to. It's shrunk, and so there are edges, there's space around the edges, which means that the pieces don't fit perfectly together, which means that it doesn't function as it should. So, how do you use the Leo South Node energy, which is that main character energy, that willingness to be on stage, that willingness to be at the forefront, that willingness to just be the main character in your fucking life, especially if you're a mother, compared to making your kids the main character, right? How do you pull in that energy in order to let your freak flag fly, in order to experience growth and evolution, which are also Aquarius themes, and letting yourself be on that trajectory? So, a couple of journal prompts I wanted to offer to you, whether you want to write about them or just think about them. I wanted to just offer them up as we are in this North Node Aquarius energy now, because I think it's so important and it's such a great lever that we can use to help us move ourselves forward in midlife and really express this beautiful version of ourselves that we are coming into, who is wild and feral and so fucking full of possibility. So, first question is, where can you start thinking more independently? Whether this means separating your thinking from, your family construct or your work construct or whatever other groups you're in, where you feel like maybe sometimes you fall into groupthink, especially if you have an undefined head or an undefined ajna or an undefined G center. I would encourage you to consider this and just ponder, take some time to contemplate, where can I start thinking more independently? within these groups. And some of the time, it may actually require you to physically separate yourself from those groups in order to get your thoughts together when it comes to how do I actually feel about this? What do I actually think about this when I'm not with these other people? Another question I want you to ask yourself is, how can you contribute your unique perspective? You have the unique perspective of the life that you have lived and the experiences that only you have had. That is special. And what is it about that specialness that can add to the conversation that you are having, no matter what situation you're in? But what is it about your uniqueness that can be the special sauce? And then the next question is, can you feel a sense of belonging without sacrificing your freak flag? Without worrying about whether you're the weirdo and whether you fit in, can you still feel a sense of belonging? So, where could you go? What kinds of people can you surround yourself with in order to feel like you belong in your teal, parachute pants and your white top with the hot pink colors? Where can you be in order to feel like you belong? And you can just go out in Mother Nature, go walk through a garden, and you'll be one of the most colorful things there, along with all of the other gorgeous flowers that are in bloom right now. There is a way to feel that sense of belonging, which is, Aquarius is about community. So there is a way to feel that while you are bringing in your unique individuality. And then the other thing I wanted to say was just looking at your chart, and in particular your astrology chart, your birth chart, your natal chart. Where is Aquarius and Leo? What houses do they occupy? Because the houses that they occupy, that is telling you where you've got South Node energy, which is like, okay, I'm coming in with this. I've got the main character energy, and I'm also sort of using that energy to move toward the North Node. What house is the North Node in? And this is part of your trajectory as a midlife woman. The North Node is such an important placement, and I recorded a podcast on the North Node a while back. I'll try to remember to link it in the show notes, but go back and listen to that one as well, because it will be so helpful, I think, in just reframing your thinking around your purpose and what is this whole second half of life supposed to be like. And when you look at your specific chart, it's going to give you information around what's kind of getting a rebrand, I guess, during the next 18 months or so in Aquarius, wherever Aquarius and Leo are in your chart. And maybe over the next couple of years, this means that you're going to quit your career when nobody else expects it because you're finally ready to make that shift. Maybe it means you're going to color your hair purple. Who knows? Maybe it means that you're simply learning how to say no when you are not lit up by something. Hello, generators and manifesting generators. I am talking to you specifically. Maybe it is the time when you're going to start a new business. Maybe it's a time when you decide you're going to practice, experiment with your human design finally, like for real. And by the way, I have a planner for that. If you DM me, I will get you a link to that for a very, very low cost. And then the last potential, and no, I shouldn't say last, because there are infinite possibilities for ways that you can use this Aquarius North Node and the Leo South Node, but I want to float the idea of refusing to apologize for your enthusiasm. I have enthusiasm in spades if I'm in the right mood. Today, clearly I am. You can hear it in my voice. And I am charged up about this change in the nodes because, I'm an Aquarius rising, so I definitely feel the shift. It feels full of possibility and excitement, and I'm pumped for it. And I'm pumped for our freak flag flying and finally just being able to feel honest and true and authentic in a world that so often wants to make us small. So, that is what I have for you today. Remember, if you are struggling and you don't really know where to start, book a session with me. This is my specialty, peeling away these layers for you to help you figure out, like, what do I want to focus on? How do I start truly living on purpose during my midlife years? How do I feel like my life is rich and full of meaning, and that I'm not just a cog in the wheel or, running on the hamster wheel until I retire and then what? And then what? And then what? And then what? So book a session to parse this out. Or you may even decide that you want to work longer term. I also do that in my coaching packages. So those are all options for you. And without further ado, I'm going to wish you the strength to let go of what no longer serves you, joy to fill your days, and clarity to be who you came here to be.